You're up.
I'm kidding. Hey, no, it's JV. Jimmy's not here. Let me try to do my best Jimmy impression. Hey guys, welcome to Reasonable Doubt. I'm Jimmy Ardoin, here with my co-host JV. What's up, guys? Look, I'm kidding. So we have two of my good friends. Somebody I've only met through the internet. And then another one of my friends that I've known forever, who's an amazing lawyer, who's been all over the world, and we can't wait to hear her story. First things first, ladies first. Allison, Mathis.
Oh, fabulous. What am I supposed to be telling you?
Say hello.
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 I'm Allison Mathis.
And
I'm the public defendrix who is on the show tonight.
Wonderful. She's been everywhere. She has a great story. We can't wait to talk more about it. And Coby DuBose.
You got it.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did it right.
And Coby, maybe you've heard him from such Facebook or Instagram quotes as... I kid.
JV, what's poppin'? I'm happy to be here with you guys. I was, I've always admired this one, and then you kind of, I guess, a little bit.
You know. Let's start with Allison. So, okay. I've known you for a minute. You started off here in Harris County.
I did.
And now you're at the Public Defender's Office, correct?
I am.
Okay. And so, at one point, you went to Palau.
That's right. I went to Micronesia because I wanted to be a public defender so bad, right? And so that's where the job opportunities were. And so I went to the Republic of Palau, which is a small island nation in Micronesia.
Which is where and what?
Micronesia is in the Pacific Islands. It's the focus of one of the major battles of World War II, the Battle of Palau, and it's about 600 miles outside of Guam. It's a small United States protectorate, but it is its own country. And so I went there initially, and then I became their chief public defender.
Let me ask...
Defendrix, as it were.
As the chief public defendrix, were you able to say defendrix without getting any sort of...
I could do whatever I wanted.
Oh. So we have a picture of Joanne Music that I think... Did you send it to...
Okay, but I think we're waiting on that.
Oh. So as a chief public defender out there, so we have... Wow, that's amazing. How did you... Okay, so you went there as an assistant?
I went there as an assistant, and then about 6 months into my tenure there, the chief public defender left and asked me if I wanted her job, and I said, sure.
So you were the public defender for the entire islands.
It's a country, right?
A country of Palau.
Yeah, I did, and we were able to expand the office from 2 lawyers to 4 lawyers. We had an investigator, we had a couple of administrative assistants, and so...
There's one particular case that I remember reading about, something about the jail, and this guy kept escaping, and then may not have.
You're right about that. So that case actually had to do with John Bradley, who is the prosecutor who was involved in the Williamson County case, the Michael Morton case. And so weirdly, when I took the job in Palau, I found out that the prosecutor who was also taking a job over there was John Bradley, the Michael Morton prosecutor from Texas.
So the John Bradley is the individual who lied, cheated, and stole a soul from a human being and doesn't deserve to even named to be mentioned.
That's right.
He's like Voldemort.
He's like Voldemort. And
right.
Coby must have read my blog post.
I actually didn't, but we're of one mind on this.
But what Coby does do, he does blog about Og, which we'll get to, because I'm the host.
So John Bradley was the chief of their prosecution unit over there, I guess, and so we ended up over there about the same time. Both of us from Texas. Me with not very much experience, him with a lot of experience of screwing people over,
right.
yeah, and doing horrible things. And so I guess the case that you're referencing is. is in Ray Angelino, which was kind of the pinnacle of my career there. It involved the dark rooms, which were their solitary confinement facilities, which are like nothing that we really see in the United States, right? It is about the dark rooms in Palau were about 6 feet by 4 feet, and they were concrete shower stall, basically, and they didn't even have a grate in the floor. And my client was 19 years old, and he was probably about 110 pounds, and he had been being held in the dark rooms for weeks and weeks on end, largely because there was not enough staff to supervise him. And he had escaped a couple of times, which, you know, is a kind of human nature when you're being held in these horrible conditions. And so I found out that my client was being held in these conditions because when I went to go talk to him before they brought him into court, he was shivering. And this is a big deal because we're in an island country on the equator. And so when you're being held in a concrete box, it's about 120 degrees at any given time. And so the 80-degree weather, 85-degree weather was extremely cold to him because he had been being held in the dark rooms for all this time.
Well, it wasn't like 118 degrees in the box.
It was terrible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was absolutely cruel and totally unusual.
And that's how you brought it. You brought in the cruel and unusual.
Right, yeah. And so we actually had the judge go and visit the facility, and the judge actually had the jailers lock him into the facility. He walked into the cell to his great credit and had them close the door while he stood in there. And my client had been held in there for so long that there were bags full of like plastic garbage bags full of urine and feces all over the floor. And there was no ventilation, there was no light. And it was really abhorrent conditions.
And I'd suppose that this had been going on for a minute out there.
Yeah, it had been going on for a while. And I think that part of the issue was that there wasn't a lot of attention paid to it. And part of the issue was that there really were not a lot of resources. And my client had been convicted of escape a couple of times. And so the guards who were really better than this, they just didn't know what to do.
This is one of the things that I thought of, I'm reading that opinion years, and I mean, how long ago was that? 8 years ago? 5 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 5 years ago.
I remember reading, this dude had escaped once, maybe twice.
Yeah, and he's 110 pounds, right? So, I mean, like, they have all of the, ability of the state, right, or the government to prevent this person from escaping. But they still can't do it for this 110-pound 19-year-old.
He's very clever.
He wasn't.
I
will tell you.
I'm kidding.
So anyway, John Bradley was there. He was the one who argued with me about this writ. And he had told the judge, I've already been to those facilities and they're fine. It was a super racist and terrible thing for him to say.
So you're representing, pardon me, I am completely ignorant on this matter, okay? An indigenous individual from?
Palau.
Palau.
Yeah.
Okay, and are the federal judges, were they whites? Were they appointed? Were they individuals of the same indigenous?
So the Republic of Palau has a lot of local judges, but the judge that was hearing this particular case was actually an American judge who had worked over there previously and had been asked to take a bench there. And he was extremely progressive. And I think that he was kind of, honestly, I think he was kind of waiting for the litigation to happen. Wow. And that's the big deal. That's the thing that I want to tell other attorneys about is even if you feel insufficient, right? I mean, because I had been practicing law for about a year before I went over there. And I had been practicing law for 6 months over there before I took over this chief position. And I was absolutely inadequate. But sometimes you have to file the motion. You need a good judge to rule on the motion and to write a beautiful opinion like this judge did about being locked in this dark room and the personal and emotional experiences he had being locked in this shower stall, right? But you have to be the one to file a motion.
So what was the relief that was granted?
So it's really interesting, actually, because the relief that was granted was that they shut down the solitary confinement facility entirely. And then we worked with the DA's office after John Bradley kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not interested in this anymore because I'm too big and important. And also he and I had a really contentious relationship. And I think that's part of the reason why he kind of stepped off of the case and he lost the initial hearing. So we kind of worked with one of the other attorneys at the Attorney General's office who was extremely honorable. His name was Mike Todd, and he worked really hard to change the whole facility from a solitary confinement facility into more of a maximum security facility. And he actually managed to get them to paint murals all on the inside of this facility and like leave
who
the
painted
doors
the murals?
open. Yeah, the inmates painted the murals. Yeah, it's kind of a beautiful story, right? I mean, yeah.
Ladies and
ending.
gentlemen, unreasonable doubt. Can we get the phone number and all that stuff up so I know about it? Jimmy, I'm missing you, man. I don't know what to do here. Oh, if you have, so you should call 713-807-1794 or Twitter at HCCLA_TV. Jimmy, I don't know how you do this every week, man. I miss you. You kill it over here. So that is just one part of Allison Mathis.
Yes.
That is just one piece. So, without further ado, or shall I say, DuBose, Mr. Cody the Champ, right? Is it Cody the Champ?
Yeah, that was a thing.
So let me allow me. So you did a lot of ghost. You're a writer.
Yeah.
The man's brain. I sat for a little bit of food and beverage beforehand with Mr. DuBose.
Yeah, you got
Right?
Yeah,
You
you
get
got it. Yeah.
And so I learned he's a ghostwriter, he's an intellectual, and now a fabulous lawyer. So tell us about where you're from, and who are you?
So I come from South Carolina. I was there my whole time until I packed up and moved to Houston.
Why'd you move to Houston?
Well, I was looking at law schools everywhere. I knew vaguely that I wanted to do this. I thought Harris County was kind of a good place to do it because there was a lot going on here. That was 2009, 2010. There's a lot of stuff going on in the death penalty space. I thought this would be a good place to be. UH, as they tend to do, made a good offer. I actually have the lowest GPA to ever get into UH.
Dude, I had to get into their back-end program.
Yeah, it was like my back-end program was like the LSAT. But so they allowed me to come to law school, which was really cool, as other places told me to get bent. So I came here, and I really, the best thing about Houston, the criminal defense world, I think, is they're really good people. I tell it this way: it's like a battlefield. And when there's bad stuff going on, good people rush in. Here, there was bad stuff going on, and good people rush in. There's good lawyers here that are working at every level, at the trial level, at the appellate level, at the post-conviction writ level. And all that stuff is stuff I wanted to do. So when I got here, I realized I was right. They were really good people. That's kind of how I got started.
If you haven't seen him on Twitter or Facebook, you should follow the man. Okay, it's a fascinating story. So you used to write for magazines and newspapers?
I did, yeah. So when I was in college, just to pay the bills, make ends meet, I would write pretty much anything anybody would pay me to write. Sometimes that would be quite embarrassing. Don't Google. No, I'm kidding. But no, I covered sports for newspapers. I wrote editorials. I actually wrote online content for law firm websites, $7 per 500 words. So if you want your website, that's what I was doing when I was in college. So I really kind of cut my teeth writing anything that anybody would pay me to do.
$7 for how many words?
500.
Do you know how valuable your Facebook page is, bro? I mean, come on.
Yeah, so that's how I started.
Hey, Brian Garris, we're waiting for you to chime in. Brian, you said you're gonna call, Brian. Where you at, D. Garris? So now, So now you're killing it here at the working as a lawyer and doing your thing.
I
Right?
am, yeah. I was law adjacent for a while. Yeah, it's funny. I use that
I
term.
love law adjacent.
Yeah.
So in Vordaer, a friend of mine said we need to figure out all the cop adjacents.
Sure,
I
yeah.
didn't know what that meant. That meant like cop leaning, and so
Right.
using that, and I didn't realize that there's like law adjacent, cop adjacent.
I don't think it's a thing. It was a thing for me.
No, it's a thing, dude.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and they're a big writer too, and I think it's a thing amongst like the people with big brains.
Just the word adjacent.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
What?
I didn't know how to describe it. I was helping people with appeals. I was doing legal research, kind of everything you can do before you become a lawyer, mitigation and all kind of stuff. And kind of slowly realized, had some success. Said maybe I should really actually do this. And fortunately, I've been working with some really good people. Took sort of a different track. I kind of did a criminal law apprenticeship for a long period of time before actually becoming a lawyer, without even really meaning to. I look back, and my dad actually told me, he was like, I don't know that you meant to take your path, but it turns out you kind of got to start after having worked for years for various really good people. So,
Out in North Carolina, or
no,
pardon me,
here in Houston for the most part. Just some good folks over at the Public Defender's Office and folks at the Texas Innocence Network and lawyers here in town that I've kind of worked around and with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of my
What's
story.
what's the craziest thing you've worked on so far?
The craziest thing I've worked on?
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Well, I can talk about it in vague terms, right?
So what happened was
So I guess there's two. My favorite thing was when my boss at the time, Jonathan Landers, who's a fantastic attorney here in town, got very serious about wanting to mandamus an ALR judge, which I don't think has ever happened before.
he told me about it.
We were going to do it.
That's a good one.
We didn't end up doing it. We got on the
I heard it.
we got on the mandamus trail for quite a while. We were thinking of all the people and places we could mandamus. So
If there's somebody that you do not piss off, it's John Landers.
well, that's clear. Yeah.
Don't piss that guy off,
Learn
because
that.
he will just get in there.
Get right in there.
He will.
No, I guess in real life, I helped a gentleman that most people watching this probably know, Anthony Graves. I helped him with his autobiography. I guess the way he put it was I helped him prepare his story for book form, whatever that means. But working with him, kind of digging through his letters from death row and sort of helping him turn that into a book and tell his story.
Let me
Crazy,
ask you,
yeah.
how was that for you? Were you a lawyer? You weren't.
I wasn't a lawyer, no. I had graduated law school, but I wasn't a lawyer yet.
So you're kind of law adjacent.
I was law adjacent at the time, yeah.
And how was it from an outside perspective, digging through somebody's life and knowing them intimate, and going to because if you're going to write a book, I'd suppose that you'd want to know everything about the individual, and some things you're going to put in the book and some things you're not going to put in the book. And how was that for you? Had you done anything like that before? And talk to us about that.
So I had started writing a book for another gentleman in South Carolina. The project kind of fell through in the middle, but I had done a lot of the research for a book. So I had an idea of what it was like to dig into somebody's life, not in the context of what it's like to live on death row. I mean, unless you've been there, even now writing a book about it, when I go now for our clients to Polunsky, I go, oh, this is what I was writing about. It's still not real. But it was very heavy. I think my wife, fiance at the time when I was writing, would kind of let me be for a couple days because you'd have to sort of get into the emotional mud. I mean,
Sure.
In order to go there, you have to kind of just imagine, you have to take on that person's sort of emotional stress and toll. Sometimes it gets real heavy. I had to take like weeks off at a time, because you write a chapter about what's it like. I try to imagine what's it like for a man to call his mom and say, hey, I'm getting out of prison. What's for dinner? And kind of building these scenes that I've never been a part of, but I need to paint, for the audience and help him paint really, because Anthony's the one with the story, and he kind of came with the story, and I helped him. So it's really trying to figure out what exactly is he trying to say, and how can I help him do it. In order to do that, it was really required me to kind of get in his shoes.
I've actually never represented. I've defended along with other better lawyers than me, and just have the privilege to sit. I've represented individuals on capital murder,
Sure.
but never for death.
Right.
And I find that to be just such a daunting and scary experience for me. So I invite, if there's any lawyers out there that are watching that have ever represented anybody on death row, give a call in. But right now, I'm assuming, unless Allison, have you represented anybody on death or
I have
touched
not.
it or death adjacent?
No death adjacent.
No death.
cases.
And so, well, we have a phone. So, is this Jimmy? Oh no, I'll take the phone. Caller.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I was just watching the show. I'm not from Houston. I'm an international watcher, and I just really respect your guests. I was wondering what they thought about, with their experience, what are the good skills it takes to be a public defender or a criminal defense attorney.
Let's talk about that. And thank you, caller. We'll take you
I'll take it off the air. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful call. And I think that comes into one of our first kind of segues. So let's talk about secondary trauma. Okay.
So this is one of the things that I actually wanted to come on the show to talk about, because I think that as criminal defense attorneys, one of the things that we deal with a lot is absorbing other people's grief and pain, right? And that's something we kind of, maybe in some ways we brag about, and in a lot of ways we really shouldn't. And I think that I was having a conversation with one of my friends who's also a criminal defense attorney the other day, and we were talking about how, I guess, people always brag about stuff that maybe we shouldn't be bragging about, right? I mean, we say, oh, I could drink that guy under the table, right? I mean, I can just drink so much alcohol, I'm such a badass, right? And I think criminal defense attorneys sort of do the same thing. They say, I'm just cut out for this work. I can absorb so much grief and pain. I can represent all these clients who are charged with horrible things. And I can listen to their stories, and I can sympathize with them, and I can also sympathize with the victims, and I can think about the people in the rest of society who are also harmed by this, and I can just take that all into myself, right? And it's not something that eats my soul.
It does
right?
eat my soul.
It does, right? It does eat our souls. And I think that we all want to think that we can handle it. And I think that there are some people who are better positioned to be able to kind of absorb that kind of grief and pain. But I also think as defense attorneys, we need to be able to say, I need to take a step back from this. I need to take a breath. I hate to use the expression self-care, because I feel like that comes with a lot of connotations that are maybe not the connotations that I, as an aggressive criminal defense attorney, really want to have made about me, right? I don't want people to think, oh, Allison has to, she has to take 3 weeks off after every trial because it hurt her feelings, I mean, I want to portray myself as an aggressive criminal defense attorney. And I think that that's definitely true about me. But at the same time, we are exposed to so much hardship and so much difficulty and so many things that people are just not meant to be exposed to on this level and with this frequency, that I think we have to be sensitive to that. Mm-hmm. And so kind of to answer the caller's question, I think one of the things that we have to have is empathy. And I think if we absorb too much of this grief and pain, then we become very hard. We become
Sure.
very hard-hearted, right?
Sure.
And that's not good for us either.
Right.
I think that helps us get through the day maybe, and to pretend like it doesn't affect us. But I think we need to recognize that within ourselves there's a level of humanity that we need to touch base with. And I think that also helps us with things like mitigation.
We got another phone call. Caller? Turn the volume down on your TV, please.
Is that better?
Yes.
So I was listening to what Ms. Mathis was just saying, and I think that's a very good point. That the last thing that you said is that these experiences can kind of make us hardened. Do you think that look forward? not that way. Look more. There you go. Do you think that explains why we see prosecutors kind of come in as young folks and they kind of bright-eyed and they're pleasant to work with, and then they do their rotation in felony court, and then they come back down and they're just miserable. You can't even get them to smile. They are unreasonable on offers, on
Kind of frumpy.
ridiculously cases. Are they experiencing secondary trauma? Because honestly, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I had never thought about that. I thought they just become bitter, and not that they maybe they're traumatized by some of the things that they experience in their job. Do you think there's anything to that? And I'll listen off the air.
I tend to think that the caller needs to really look into his own heart and massage it. But yes. Coby, he thought you, look at you wanted to say something.
Well, I think it's hard. I think in order to do the work of a prosecutor, which I've never done.
I've never done.
Me neither.
Never,
Could never do it. That's right. Bam.
Chill.
never had any real
Dog sucks.
interest in doing the work. I think in order to do that work, in order to do it effectively and do it well, you have to sort of build kind of a shell. Because, as heavy as it is watching our clients, and we're on this side helping them. I have a client who's, facing tough charges, and he called me, wanted to know if I could help him get a job. I'm able to kind of pacify some of these social work needs. You're seeing only the downside as a prosecutor as come down, you make your rounds, like he mentions. And, I think if we can assume, which I think we can, that the folks on the other side have at least some reservoir of empathy, in order to properly do the job and not go crazy, you'd have to build up some shell, or else you would, I don't know, it would beat you down. The reality of what's going on there, no matter what your role is in it.
This is what, so when I go home or I talk to friends and likewise, oh, you're a defense attorney, tell me the craziest thing you've ever done or seen or heard. And I have to remind myself that even the TV wouldn't allow what I've seen and heard.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even film and TV that's allowed by law would not allow me to tell you what I have. They wouldn't allow it. It's just too it's too crazy. It's too bad.
No, absolutely. I've watched a lot of child porn because of my job.
Not gonna allow it,
yeah.
right. Yes.
We've all seen things that, and the frequency that we've seen things is unnerving sometimes, right? And we all have to figure out ways to cope with this, and sometimes it's really difficult. And I think that a lot of us come up with ways to cope with it that are maybe not super healthy, right? And we've all kind of talked about this before, and I'm not really sure what the answer is.
Well, I don't either, other than a lot of booze, slow death. No, but it's the truth. We can't talk about the thing. So I inevitably fall into this one guy, he walked into the Walmart and he took a bubble gum and he was on video and they all laugh, right? Like that's some joke. But in my heart, it's just dying.
It hurts.
Because you have no idea. Number one, that person is a real person. And number two, you have no idea. And I saw 5 of the worst things that you couldn't even make up because your mind can't even go there, because the truth is stranger. The truth is harder than whatever fiction anybody can write.
I think kind of answering both of these questions, which the first one was what skills do you need to be effective at this job, and the second one sort of dealing with kind of the hardening and the secondary trauma, as you put it. I think a lot of lawyers, and it's been effective for me, sort of in my law adjacent and now law work, is to kind of, and I don't know how healthy it is, but I can't focus on the sadness of the stories. I have to sort of bury myself in what I like to call like a strategic or an analytical creativity, which is something I've learned from some of the lawyers around me, kind of viewing each case as a bundle of problems with a set of solutions that you can find if you look under enough rocks most of the time, not always, and sort of burying yourself in kind of the minutiae of that, because it is a better refuge than the utter sadness of the human side of it. Because, at least in my view, assuming you're able to do your work with mitigation, learn your client's story, you're able to communicate it well. There's not a whole lot more that getting wrapped up in their stress can help you with.
Right.
But, if you can invest your time in sort of the analytical side, and the sort of strategic creativity is my term that I always tell myself is, can I invest my energy in being creative on this case and figuring out what it is that will actually help this person? I can sometimes, and we have to do it, like I said, we do some capital, death threats. People, we're kind of guiding them to their grave. John, my boss, guy I work with, and, in those cases, the end game is so horrible and harsh, a death in Huntsville, someone being put to death, that if you think about that, you won't get anything done. You'll be a mess the whole time. So in those cases, we have to sort of bury ourselves in the minutiae, usually a procedure. But I try to take that and look at it even on a misdemeanor case where it's sad. A person's got 10 prostitution charges, and even if I get them out of this, why won't they be back for 11? If I think about that, I'll never get anything done. So I try to keep it as centered and as focused on what is actually the job here as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works for me.
I don't dare anybody come sit around with a bunch of defense attorneys and talk about some things that are off camera. It's like a horror film. I enjoy it though. You know what? But on the flip side, let's talk about alleviating some of that secondary trauma. I enjoy beating the government.
I agree. I agree. I totally agree with you. Frankly, to be totally honest, the reason I do this job, I have a lot of clients, and I think I can say this now that I've been practicing for as long as I've been practicing. When I first started practicing, I would have wanted to say, I love my clients, normal people don't do horrible things, and sick people do horrible things. Sure. And so, I want to help sick people get treatment, right? And I still think that's true. But at the same time, frankly, there's a lot of my clients I don't like very much. That doesn't mean that I'm not still going to be a super zealous advocate. I am a bulldog, and everyone will tell you that. But the whole thing about it is that I hate the government. I hate the government. And that's all I want. That's all I want is I just want to beat the government. I just want to beat the government. I hate cops.
I hate cops. Hey.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Cops. I don't like them.
That's right.
I don't like them. So I think this is a good segue into the top 5.
Is it time for the top 5 already?
Does Tank
have the picture?
Does Tank have a picture
Tank,
up?
do you have the picture ready?
Tank says he doesn't.
I texted you, Tank.
We're going to say the top 5.
All
right.
It's a past president, past director of the show.
Oh my gosh. Can you just stop even? Can you just stop? Just put the picture up.
I can't. You texted it to me. How am I supposed to get a phone from a text message to television?
I don't know.
Is it 2020? 19?
I'm just going to hold my phone up to the camera.
Fine.
I could make the face.
Let's talk about...
Hold your phone up to the camera.
Kobe's going to make the face.
All right.
Where's your slinky, Coby?
I need a slinky. The slinky of justice.
We're going down for this.
Okay, JV, so please do remember that they're talking about a past, I don't know what they're about to talk about. It's a past president and a former director of the show. Are you going to hold up your phone?
Let's talk about weed. Let's talk about getting high.
You can do it now here.
Let's talk about getting high.
So
what's the deal?
Can you?
What's the deal, Coby?
What's going on? I don't know. It seems like maybe they can't prove weed cases.
don't plead any weed cases, people.
Hey,
that's my advice.
Except for some felonies. Hey, I think it's 30 minutes. I have to do something. So get the phone number. Yeah, 713-807-1794. Welcome to Unreasonable Doubt. I'm here with my friend Coby DuBose. Yeah. Allison, Mathis. We're having a grand old time. Jimmy, it's a clown show without you. So, apparently Texas legalized weed. Did you know?
They didn't know.
Decriminalized. Yeah, they didn't know.
You could smoke it.
Unless you're in Moco. You don't want to smoke in Monkey County.
That's right.
Okay,
don't
can either of y'all explain this, or do I have to?
Kobe can explain it.
Can I?
No, well, you can explain.
You just explained it to us.
The weed lab.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, let me set the law up, and you explain the weed lab.
Yeah, you do that.
Okay. So, Texas law now defines marijuana. You'd be surprised. I got folks that are like, they spelled it wrong. No, it's marijuana. Oh, we got a phone call.
Oh boy. Oh no.
Hey, but then I got high. I was gonna talk
am I on,
about
guys?
weed, then I got
It's
high.
Brian, I think it's Brian Garris.
Okay, I wanted to ask. You guys were talking about development of skills, and I wanted to call in because I'm a fourth-year prosecutor here, and we get to trial, and we used to object. They taught us to object to two objections. That's relevance and hearsay.
Okay, I'm gonna call
but-
BS on this right now because there's no prosecutors in the DA's office who've been practicing for 4 years.
Well, I'm a chief.
Damn.
And the thing is, these objections used to work with the old judges, the old Republican judges, but they don't work anymore.
Where they at?
And I wanted to see
Where
how
they
you
at?
guys developed
they
your
lost.
skills and how you guys coped with these with all this.
Hey, I want you to stay on the phone.
Caller.
Caller. We got a top 5.
Oh, okay. And I have another question when y'all address that.
Oh, what's the second one? We're going. Let's listen to that one. Let it simmer. What's the second question?
Come on, caller.
Oh, okay. Well, my second question relates to this local reporter that we've got named Carrie Bleckinger.
Look.
And-
Wait. I love her.
And I wanted to ask what you guys think about her. We all know that she hates our office, and we all know why.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah. Keep it going.
But I just wanted to know y'all's thoughts about that.
Yeah. Well, she right.
Can I answer that second question?
Yeah.
Listen, I think any person with a criminal record is clearly biased against the DA's office and can't be trusted. That's what I've heard. I heard that on good authority.
She can't render a bias.
I heard that on good authority. It was actually in front of maybe a commissioner's court or two.
Maybe, yeah.
I think I heard that. It doesn't matter how many books you've written, New York Times, wherever you're headed.
No. Hey, you know what? And I would hope it wasn't said by a former leader of our community. I would hate that.
That doesn't sound great.
Damn it.
That doesn't sound
Did he hang
It's
up?
not-
Brian.
Oh, Brian.
We've lost our caller.
All right, because we're about to get off. They're about to kick us all off. It's our last
We
show.
got to do our top 5.
All right, so top 5.
No, wait. What else were we gonna?
we gotta
ice
talk about. We didn't
creams.
finish about weed. We didn't talk about weed.
We're going to
talked
talk
about weed.
We just said you can smoke it now. All right. Look. So marijuana. It's with an H.
We're back.
Marijuana is now only with concentrations of 0.3% or more.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Anything
it's hemp.
under 0.3 is hemp. I have never seen hemp in my life.
I have. We used to have sandals back in South Carolina. Never tried to smoke them, but they existed. I'm serious.
Let's go under 0.3%.
Right. You did. Yeah. They
So-
were legal as hell.
The way I understand it is there was an agricultural bill, and then that piggybacked to the state law that was introduced and passed that in order for it to be marijuana,
You're killing me, JV. You have to.
it's marijuana. It has to be 0.3% or more.
Sure.
And the
of THC.
of THC. So now people can start growing hemp in the state.
Yeah.
Right.
Make a little
And
money.
I've never seen hemp, but it's the things I always it was the things I always tried to smoke when I was younger and I never got high.
Right. I thought you said you'd never seen it.
Yeah, nobody got that. Nobody got that. No, it was sing. Anyways, apparently they look the same.
Sure.
I didn't know they looked the same. I had no idea. And apparently there's all sorts of good things that can come from hemp.
Sure.
Rope. Sandals.
Sandals, oils and rubs
Yeah.
and such.
Various rubs.
A variety
Yeah.
of rubs.
Meals for the children of farmers who grow it.
You can
Good
eat it
economic-
too?
No, I don't think you can eat it. You could sell it and buy food.
I think that equals the same thing.
That's the same with marijuana. though.
That's a good point.
Marijuana.
Keep going, JV.
So things that are 0.3% or more equal marijuana.
Sure.
And there are not enough labs in Texas. I think there's one currently, which we'll get. There's might be two, but there's one out in Dallas that they can send suspected marijuana to the lab. But other than that, unless they're going to send every person who's smoking a joint and arrest after they've arrested them, like Kim Og said she wouldn't, but she still does, and is going back on all of her campaign this and that, and Adia Jones for DA. I'm sorry, I'm not campaigning at all, but apparently you can smoke weed in Texas and you'll be fine, unless you're in Montgomery County because...
Well, there's a news report that Monkey County has a little bit of extra money. They've been jamming people up, doing a little the old civil forfeiture, a little jive, taking a little cash out of your pocket, putting it in their own. And they said, what are we going to do with our money? And their district attorney there, he's a big, tough talking Texan. You know, the higher the hair, the closer to God. You know the whole deal. Anyway, he says that he's going to build himself a lab. And, you know, he's going to make the defendants pay the money to have their own stuff tested, which, well, that's a thing apparently. And he says we're not decriminalizing marijuana here in Monkey County. He also made it clear that they don't have a marijuana problem there, and he wants to keep it that way.
Well, it's a meth problem out there.
Right,
It's not a
absolutely.
marijuana problem. Look, there's not a bunch of white folks smoking a bunch of marijuana up there. They're doing all the meth.
It's a gateway drug. You know.
Well, it is. And look,
passed
white
the
people smoke
gateway a few
marijuana
years
too, I'm just saying. But, okay, so here's the deal. Less than 3%, unless they can prove it, and there's no labs that they can show that it's marijuana, you can smoke weed in Texas.
Sure.
More than 3%, they got to send it to a lab. Apparently, Harris County, Bexar County, Montgomery County, maybe Fort Bend County.
Fort Bend.
Not Montgomery County. Fort Bend County. They're stopping prosecutions and they're dismissing.
For now.
For now.
Unless something changes, you know, the legislature could always change
Except felony prosecution.
Right. Well, they're going to take it on a step.
Yeah, they're taken by a case-by-case basis on the felonies, I think.
They
most
say
of
we
them are
might
saying.
send your stuff off.
We might send your stuff off for a felony.
Right.
For what?
That's a good question.
For what?
I don't know. We'd have to ask our previous caller. He might would know. The chief in that court.
So in Montgomery County, they're going to take the taxpayers' money and start testing and
gonna
put
build
it
a
It's
lab.
not
towards
the
the lab.
taxpayers' money.
Well, it's a seizure.
It's the seizure money,
Seizures
right?
without
We
We
conviction
can
money.
assume the people having their money seized probably pay taxes.
Well, they probably didn't.
Well, maybe. That's a good point.
Well, they didn't get
seized.
convicted of anything either.
That's true.
Well, you don't know that.
In some cases.
Some of them, yeah. Oh,
So
felony.
they're gonna take instead of focusing, they're gonna prosecute the dude with. Look, this is what you're gonna do, homeboy out in Montgomery County. You're gonna prosecute these kids, who are kids of the ExxonMobil company who just decided to move out there.
Sure.
And you're gonna prosecute them, and they're gonna hate you, man.
JV, I'm really worried because we've got about 10 minutes left and we haven't gone over the top 5.
Well, see, I've been going on this screen, and this screen says we had 20, but not anymore.
15.
Thank you for keeping it up. Okay, so.
So I think one of the things that we were going to talk about was the top 5 reasons that, we were going to talk about judicial elections, right? Let's talk about some judicial elections.
Let's talk about it.
So I am super excited to announce that one of the amazing attorneys from my office at the Harris County Public Defender's Office is running for a judicial bench.
We have to be very careful because we're public and we don't endorse.
Of course, we're not
anybody.
endorsing anyone, but we're just making an announcement that there is someone running.
Who's running?
Tiiva Bell.
Interesting. You know what?
She's running for Maria Jackson's bench.
who I hear Maria Jackson is running for.
Rodney Ellis's
Very occupied seat.
Rodney.
The Rodney Ellis. So whatever we have to say about that, Maria Jackson is apparently not going to be running for her bench, and Tiiva Bell will be running for that bench.
I've heard there's every Democrat on the bench currently is getting primaried too. That's what I heard.
We'll see what happens.
I know. Who else is up? Judge Franklin, Ramona Franklin.
Ramona Franklin is up. I heard Herb Ritchie is up.
No, I heard Herb Ritchie's retiring.
Yeah, I heard he's not interested in running again. We'll see what happens.
Judge Roll is up.
Judge Roll is up.
And
I heard
Anna
he
Martinez
may
is
be
running
running
again.
again.
Anna Martinez is running against him.
Oh, well, I didn't
thought
know that.
Judge Roll was not running again, but
No, Judge Roll's running. I think it's going to be an incredible primary, and I'm staying out of all of that.
Sure.
Straight up.
I heard a rumor that everyone's favorite magistrate, Lionel Castro, may be running.
Lionel, where are you
Look at
at?
that. You've got full of information.
Oh,
there.
brother. Lionel Castro. Isn't it
Lionel
Lionel?
I like that,
Oh,
yeah.
brother, you got it.
You
You
can
know.
call him Lino. That's what I call him.
Picked up on that.
He's gonna run.
I was hearing some rumors that I may have started myself.
District Court bench.
District Court bench.
I feel like you're a pretty good authority on Lionel Castro.
I am a good authority on Lionel Castro.
That's how rumors get started.
Not like
That's
that.
how rumors get started.
Stepdaughter and also his ex-wife.
Unreasonable doubt.
That's complicated.
Look, after dark. Who else? So all the Dems are getting primaried. Oh, look. Who else? George Powell's up. He's been a phenomenal judge. I think he's great. I don't know if he's getting primaried though.
Johnson.
Kelly, Judge Johnson. She's up. Phenomenal. She's in the middle of the David Temple trial that's going on. That's pretty good too. Kim Ogg's up.
That's also correct.
That's a thing.
Anybody blog about Ogg? Here's the thing. Look, stop taking all the bullshit cases and you don't have to hire 1,000 more prosecutors.
That's right.
Very simple.
Here's the deal. I wrote a thing. And the reason I wrote a thing was because I felt like I was in the movie The Godfather, where this district attorney's office said, well, there's some nice cases we want to dismiss. Have to give us a little bit of money so we can dismiss them. I felt like it was a little bit like,
Sturdy.
the mafia that goes and says, man, nice little
very
story
quid
you
pro
got
quo.
here.
It was
Nice
very
little
quid
story
pro
you got
quo.
here. These windows that you don't want broken. And my thought on this is, and I called her a fake progressive, shots fired, right? Because I think,
Faux-aggressive.
I called her a
progressive.
progressive.
Did you
yeah.
just term that? Did
I
you
just
term
turned that. I just
Coined.
turned that.
It has been coined.
Yeah, that's
right, faux
coined.
aggressive.
I said, listen, be what you want to be, run how you want to run. She can run her office how she wants. But I just want her to be honest about what her sort of approach is to this. And if we're going to be progressive, let's be progressive.
Right.
If we're not, let's just know what we're dealing with. And that would, so we don't, go in here with false pretenses, believing that something's happening here in Houston that's not. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
I think she a lot of the promises that she came in were strong and good. And I'd love to hear from you, Miss Ogg, DA Ogg, come on the show. You can defend yourself and do everything. Look, I'm not hating on you or not, but I am in the trenches every single day in that courthouse. And you have a brilliant group of individuals that are willing to support and be behind you. But I don't think you know what's going on.
Name names. You
I
need to
don't-
name names about the brilliant individuals.
It's the line prosecutors. They got no.
That's right.
They have no discretion.
Wait. You're getting into.
I know.
You're getting into the top 5.
I'm just saying. Look. I'm just saying. We got to get to the top 5, but we don't know how. I don't know how to introduce it. But hold on. Well, in any event, Coby, you got something else to say?
No, I'm good. Listen,
Who's running for DA? So we got currently, from what I understand, it's Kim Ogg, DA Ogg,
current DA, yeah.
Adia Jones, who she is just blasting all over social media.
Sure, yeah.
And she is she has this grassroots thing that's coming. We have Todd Overstreet, who is I think at least on the rumors on the ground level is Overstreet is the. I'm not voting for Kim. I'm not voting for Adia, so I'll vote for Todd.
Sure.
Right, and he has a good reputation. There's nothing bad about
People like
him.
him.
Yeah, people like him. He's been around for a minute. People love him. And then I think I heard Morris Overstreet. Is he running?
I've heard that, yeah.
I've heard Morris Overstreet too.
Give it another go.
We'd love to have all 4 of you here on an unreasonable doubt. I dare you. Effing dare you. And we're going to have Coby and Allison back on the show and do it. So.
That's right. And we're going to make you eat a tarantula.
I like that.
You're going to have to eat a tarantula.
Sounds
on
good
the
to me.
show.
So we have the top 5 reasons why the district attorney's office sucks.
That's right. These are all open to discussion. Okay, number 5.
Number 5. I have no discretion, so I'm not going to do anything, and I suck.
That's right. What are these prosecutors doing? Like, if you're a 3, okay, I get it. I understand. Like, maybe you've only been a lawyer for 20 minutes, but like, if you don't have any discretion, then aren't you just a secretary?
You're an administrator.
You're an administrator.
You're an administrator.
You have to make
I
your
think-
own mistakes, right?
Courtroom, you're a waste of space and time.
That's right. And these
Okay.
are crowded. These are very crowded spaces.
Which leads into number 4. I have no training and I don't know what to do and I cancel no reset and I suck.
Here's the deal, man. This is a hard job. These decisions are hard. These are very hard decisions. The training, it's very hard to train people when people are constantly leaving. I don't even know if they can stay long enough in this office to get the training. If the training period is longer than about 3 weeks, half these people are getting out of here before they even get trained.
Period. There's not a training period. That's the whole problem. Like, there's no training period.
Have y'all ever heard of baby DA school?
I've heard of it.
I'm there. I'm so
That's a
effing
thing.
pissed.
That's a thing.
I got like 4 trials set on baby DA school. And they all got
DA school?
Well, apparently they all go and they all learn from Kelly Siegler.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I'm not kidding.
I don't know about that.
Which leads me to number 3. Everybody's quitting the DA office. And I don't know what to do.
That's right. That's right. They are.
The DA's office
pay
now.
Very well. Yeah.
You look, and we're doing this. My friends at the DA's, I have a lot of friends because there are a lot of top-tiered, excellent, amazing attorneys up there. But Jesus Christ, come on.
Well, I mean, you would say lots. Like, how many DAs are there? 600?
Like 1,000?
I know what there's not. There's not 100 more.
That's funny. Oh, you mean there's not 100 more to investigate the cop that destroyed 1,000 other cases?
Ridiculous. And that's what I'm saying. So, like, 15 that you think are really good lawyers? Yeah.
Well,
listen, there's some good
600.
attorneys
What's
over
the percentage?
there are some good attorneys. I don't want us to.
No,
there are some good attorneys over there, and there's a lot of
You're not
them,
wrong.
and you know who
You're
you
not
are.
wrong. That's right. I mean, I even like I liked the old man attorneys who at least could evaluate a case, right? Like, they would look at my client who's like a true habitual, but like they don't have him this time. And they're like, okay.
And they're like, we're going to get him next time.
Right, we'll get him in 6 months when
And
he
I'm
comes
like,
back.
not my problem.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
right.
I'm not appointed to that case.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, at least we're going to let this one go. But instead, I've got these baby lawyers who have 2 years of experience behind them. They have no discretion, and they've been in this job for 15 minutes, and they're like, I'm going to make you come back for 1,000,000 years.
Just to reset it on trial day,
reset
baby.
it. Yeah, that's right.
Or just to dismiss it on trial day.
Just to dismiss it on.
Yeah, that's right.
These are people.
Or to go to trial. Or to go to trial on a case that they know that they can't prove, which is unethical.
It's unethical. I was in the elevator coming down, and there were 2 prosecutors. I don't know their names. I straight up don't know their names. One of them was like, "Oh, I have to look at everything before I set a case for trial, and if I don't know it, I'm gonna do the right thing and dismiss it." And I said, "Yeah, but pardon me." It's like, "Yeah, hell yeah." And then the guy right next to her said, "Nah, I just set him." And I think to myself, and he was like, "I don't really look at anything, I just set him." I was like, "No, bro, these are people.
Yeah.
These are human beings.
With families.
With
But
families.
at the same time, like, okay, fine, go ahead and set it, because that's where I am.
Yeah.
Because where I am is like, my
Come on.
client's in jail, dude, and like, you won't even evaluate this case. You won't spend 15 minutes looking at your case file and dismissing this case. And instead, I'm having to come back reset after reset. I'm not going to do this anymore.
No.
I'm setting it for trial now. I don't give a crap if it's 180 days old or not, which is ridiculous. I'm setting this case for trial now. If it's not indicted, if it's not old enough, that's your problem. That's not my problem.
Oh, but I have 1,000 cases and I'm overworked and I can't do it.
That's not my
That's
problem.
not my problem.
That's not my
Quit
problem.
taking cases you
That's
shouldn't
right.
take.
Quit
That's
taking
absolutely
cases.
right.
You
Then
got an
dismiss
intake
it,
problem.
Evaluate it and dismiss it.
You got an intake problem.
What's
Have an
number
intake
2?
Problem.
We left off number 2 and number 1 for the callers.
Okay, so number 2 is whatever you think it is, right? Whatever you were thinking that you were going to say is number 2, right?
Ooh, this is a blank. We have a number 1.
Number 1.
We have a number 1.
The biggest problem.
I know.
We're all sobered up since then.
The producer's saying, "Don't do it.
He's not going to like
Don't do
this.
it. Don't do it." And I will tell you, the number 1. Look.
Just say it. Just say it, JV. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
The number 1 is I didn't bring this up. It's from the words of the
group.
It's,
Hive mind.
I mean, we got a phone call.
Oh my God. We're coming in right under the buzzer.
It's Tang.
I'm the chief that called in earlier, and I just wanted to say that our DA's office has the best prosecutors, and that only Marsha Clark and Christopher Garden were ever better prosecutors.
What do you think the number 1 reason is? It's a person. You pick.
Person what? Number one, I don't understand your question.
The number one reason why the DA's office sucks is a person. Who is that person?
Well, it's not Kim Og.
No, it wasn't Kim Ogden. No, it wasn't. It
It's
wasn't.
a little bit like a Reba McEntire
That
song,
wasn't-
I think, isn't it?
Monday, Tuesday, take too long before I know.
Hey, JV, we got like 2 minutes.
Now.
Can we
All right,
can we talk about real quick?
we have 1 minute. You can close it out,
Talk
Coby.
about the ice cream.
I want to talk about some white people and some ice cream. Here's the deal. Don't at me because some young black girl is licking some ice cream.
That's right.
And some hicks up in Lufkin are trying to pin her with a felony. Don't at me about it. Because here's the deal. You did some nasty shit. You people are from the sticks, from the trailers. I see what you do. Your dogs lick their butt and they lick you in the mouth. You do some nasty stuff. And people are all upset about this because it's a black girl and they want to pin it on her, and black life is pretty disposable, especially young black life here in Texas. And that's why all these people from around this country were on this a little more than I think they should be on some weird local case about licking ice cream. So don't at me about this. Like, she's going to get some community service. We're all going to live our lives. You're going to be mad at Colin Kaepernick.
And
it's all going to be good.
Hey, look, we got 1 minute. We got 1 minute.
This is what I was saying to you about it, is like the fact that this was such a huge news story makes me think that the food supply is much safer than I had assumed.
That's a
it
great
was.
point. Excellent.
It's true.
We can all eat that ice cream in safety. Just cut the tops off.
I'll tell you though, now that everybody's doing this, it's like a challenge now. And you've seen people like doing it in the sweet tea and in the Cheetos and in the.
Make your own food at home.
I mean, come on, man. Stop it.
Shop local.
Stop
Take
it.
it home.
Look, for unreasonable doubt, for Miss Allison, Mathis, Coby, DuBose, JV Vela, Jimmy Arduan, where you at? I love you. I miss you. We need you now. Unreasonable doubt, HCCLA, thank you so very much. Adios, amigos. Now the music.